All right. I see people joining, so I will talk to you. My Chihuahua is super mad at me because of the sudden frenzy of realizing I couldn't do a live on an account without 1,000 followers yet. So we switched. Here's my Chihuahua. This is Sky Princess. She doesn't know why I'm all hyper right now. But anyway, I'm here today not as Molly Fitz, but as Luna Ryder. Both are me. And I want to talk to you about my new book and new Kickstarter. Now, if you follow me as Molly Fitz, you might know me for books like Kitty Confidential or Merlin Takes a Familiar. I write cozy books with talking cats and magic. And now as Luna Ryder, I'm bringing that same humor and wackiness to the fantasy genre. So instead of having a talking cat mystery, now you have kind of a slapstick fantasy adventure. And I'm referring to it as neurodivergent fantasy because as a neurodivergent person myself, with a neurodivergent husband, kid, and literally all my friends have ADHD, okay? It was really important to me that books be accessible and interesting every step of the way rather than, overly descriptive in a way that you kind of just fall asleep instead of finding out what happens next. If our heroes are going to slay a dragon, I want to see the battle. I don't want to hear 3 pages of what the dragon's scales look like and what iridescent hue they shimmer. Description definitely has a place, but I'm all about that action, baby. So When Life Gives You Legends is, this is the paperback. I also have a special edition hardcover ebook, Dungeons and Dragons campaign based on this book, and super amazing audio by Sound Booth Theater. This is just the standard paperback. It's what I happen to have on my desk. But the chapters are short and it just keeps moving. They keep questing. They keep doing things. There's a lot of witty banter. I think I was trying to say witty and repartee at the same time, so I extra T'd it. But this book is fun. It moves fast. It's like kind of playing Dungeons and Dragons with all your best friends, and just giving each other so much heck, because I don't know what will be censored here. Giving each other so much poop along the way, just teasing each other. And when you have that great relationship with people and you can just let loose and be yourself and prank them a little bit, that's what this book is. And it's 10 times as true when it comes to the companion 5e game that goes with it, where you get the chance to be the characters. It's a lot of fun. And just like this TikTok live, it doesn't swear. I curse like a sailor when left unfiltered. Ooh, swipe right to filter your comments. Okay. Somebody says I'm beautiful. Oh, thank you. Hi, Becky. Yes. Okay, that was very distracting. I won't do that again if I can avoid it. But yeah, I love having a good time. That comment, that was not directed at the commenter who said I was beautiful, because that was very sweet, but also kind of weird. And I don't mean it like that. I mean like having an adventure. I think even if you have a short attention span, you can have a big adventure still. And that's why I wrote this book, so it's accessible, and so that characters with ADHD and on the autism spectrum and with OCD and things like that are still out there living life, being the heroes, because we are heroes, guys. Like, our brains work differently. How could we not be the heroes? So I'm going to read some of my favorite passages from the book, and I'm going to try to calm down from my panic of not being able to go live on the intended account. Hopefully people will see that I switched over. Let me just make sure real quick, and then I'll read you some of my favorite passages. All right. I swear to God. If it can go wrong, it will, right? That's also kind of this book. It's about having fun when things go wrong, making the best of it. A lot of times it's frustrating but funny. It's kind of funny that I made this gaffe. And one day when I have 1,000 followers on Cozy Fantasy Girl, I will actually do a live over there. I don't know if that's going to happen before my Kickstarter campaign is over, but you can't have everything. Now I'm trying to turn on face tracking for my cam. Did we get it? Yeah, okay. So now I can move and the stick will follow me. I would have been much better prepared if not for the last minute freaking panic. But okay, I'm gonna put this dog on the bed. And I'm back. So anyone who asks a question while I'm live, a question about the book or the Kickstarter, the question does have to be on topic to qualify. I will reach out to you via private messenger and I will deliver you a prize, or as I'm calling it, a super secret, super special boon. So please ask questions. And Becky, since I know you're here with me, if you can pop any questions that we receive in the comments into our Google chat so I don't miss them. I'm going to be focused on the book, and since so many notifications are scrolling, I might miss things in the comments of TikTok. So if you can pop anything that comes up into our Google chat so I see it, we will be good to go. All right, so When Life Gives You Legends, it's not usually backwards. My selfie stick is confused because the book is blocking my face and it's trying to find me. Here we go. So I have a few scenes I really love, and I actually have a lot of scenes I really love. I was laughing most of the time I was writing this book. If you're a fan of like Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams, this is a younger American female version of those classic humor and speculative guys. So it's much of the same kind of lightheartedness. Becky says she was laughing while she was reading it too, so it's not just me. And hopefully it's not just the person I pay to like me. But I think Becky would like me regardless, so true friendship. All right, so the first scene I'm gonna read is, I'm gonna read a shorter one. I'm gonna read a shorter one to get us started, to get me calmed down, because I don't want to start with the very best one while I'm still kind of frantic about being on the wrong account. So here's the warm-up. This is from toward the very beginning of the book. I think it's in chapter 1, just to give you a little flavor so you can meet our hero, Tilda. Oh, sweet divinity, I used to love finding trouble. Well, you know what they say. Trouble has a way of coming to those who go looking for it. As I thought these words, I could hear the gruff voice of the City Watch commander that had tried for years to set me on the right path. His efforts had, of course, proven fruitless. Oh, if only he could see me now. A common small-town tavern wench. He'd be ecstatic. Half the time, I was ecstatic too. For years, I'd thought adventuring was the only path for me, but retirement hadn't proven half bad. I watched Brinley disappear into the evening dusk, no doubt rushing to get a good seat for Kalina's performance. She could move faster than me without even trying most days. Her long legs effortlessly gliding across a distance that took me 3 steps to clear. When she was motivated, she moved like a gazelle, her smooth movement making her almost appear to be flying like leaves before a storm. And as far as I'd observed over the years, absolutely nothing motivated her more than that kid of hers. I let out a long exhale and turned back to the empty tavern. Just me now. Alone, but only for a little while. Soon this place would be filled to the gills, and I'd be too busy doing to worry much about thinking. I took a quick inventory of our spirits and noted down what replenishments we'd soon need to order. Then I disappeared into the small kitchen tucked into the back room and chopped a few root vegetables to add to the night's stew. Brinley had already gotten it started for me. It was meant to be my responsibility, but the whole thing started off when Brinley had realized the customers had a far easier time getting home safely when we first managed to feed them. They flirted less and tipped better too. I finished up in the back of the house, listening intently for any slaps on the sign that would signal I needed to return to the bar, but no one had come in yet. Slow night. I'll stop there and talk to you guys a little more. I could just keep going because you're about to meet Durgan, the tavern owner, and he's one of my favorite characters. But I kind of feel like if you want to meet Durgan, the ebook is only 99 cents. It's not that hard. Hopefully you can find 99 cents and check it out and meet Durgan, because if I keep going, I'll just read you the whole book, and that would honestly be a disservice to you, because I am a writer but not a professional actor. And the audiobook production by Sound Booth Theater is so good. There are multiple professional actors and a composer all working together to bring this book to life. So I wrote it for them and then they act it much better, but sometimes I like to pretend I'm an actor too. So I read to you. I have a couple other scenes. Becky, do you think, oh, there's a question. Okay. So I will ask you guys a question and then I will answer the question I've just received. Remember, if you ask me a question, I will deliver a prize to you, a secret prize. Anyone who asks an on-topic question during this live will receive that secret special prize. So I hope my Luna Rider fans have found their way over. Luna Rider, Molly Fitz, we are the same person. We both write humorous, cozy content. Luna, who I'm talking about and being right now, does fantasy. Molly does mystery, but the vibes are the same. They're both family friendly without swears and sex and things like that. So a lot of my readers are parents and grandparents reading with their kids. I will say that my Luna Rider readers, I have a lot more male readers than I do with Molly Fitz. Even though the protagonist is female, most of the party is female. Guys love it too. So that's been a really cool change. But my question for you guys is, what scene should I read next? Would you like to see a battle against giant locusts in which our half-orc wizard struggles to get his flame going? Or would you like to see our entire party -1 take on a swarm of kobold law enforcers at an upscale Centaur country club? And slight spoiler for that, this time our half-orc wizard can get his flame going and it's a disaster. So both are disasters. Do you want the locusts or do you want the kobolds? Now, the question that I've received is, what was your inspiration behind making Tilda a bar winch? So thank you, questioner. I will make sure to scroll back through the comments and send you a secret prize that all of my people who ask relevant questions will receive after this live is over. And I will also repost it to my Cozy Fantasy Girl channel for those who didn't find their way over here with the last minute change up. Like TikTok, I get why you need 1,000 followers to be live, but come on, dude, you're killing me. Embarrassed me, but it's okay. So the question, what was your inspiration behind making Tilda a bar winch? The inspiration was really this gorgeous cover, which is hand-drawn by S.J. Gautreaux at Night Witchery. She put this beautiful cover. The selfie stick does not like it when the cover is in front of my face. She drew this gorgeous cover and I saw it and I immediately said, that's my cover. Sell it to me. I want it. I want to tell this story. She had the title already worked out, When Life Gives You Legends. And I fell in love with the whole aesthetic. And I started thinking about what kind of story could I tell? And obviously with the beer, a direction to go would be a small town tavern. And that's what I decided to do. And Tilda just started just flowing into my mind as this former adventurer, a thief whose last mission had gone horribly wrong. She lost her partner. Her partner died and they failed their mission. And she also managed to really piss off a very powerful necromancer. So everything went horrible and her only choice was to go into hiding. So she chose this small town that her partner had always spoken so fondly of. And she just wanted to blend in so that necromancer couldn't find her and couldn't punish her, couldn't seek revenge. It was kind of her only way to survive, was to find a way to be unassuming and small, which you think would be easy for a halfling to be small, but Tilda has a really big personality. So she's got to stay behind the bar in hopes that the necromancer doesn't realize that she's hiding a secret artifact under her tunic. And she has a magical scar. I have a dragon tattoo, but she has a magical scar that she got in that final battle. And yeah, just the cover and then the first spark of that character is what motivated me. So Becky, do we have a consensus on whether we want giant locusts or kobolds next? I'm gonna take a quick drink. Kobolds, exclamation point. Oh, I see a new question and then I'll do kobolds. What is your greatest negative influence? Something you learned not to do for writing. Counter question for Joe, are you a writer? I'm glad you're here. Great question. Usually people focus on the positive stuff, but I think the what not to do provides the more poignant lessons. So one lesson that I learned 25 minutes ago is don't say you're going to do a TikTok live on an account that doesn't have 1,000 followers because you're not allowed to. And then cue panic. But that's not really about writing. That's just about today's current mistake that's in my brain. That's more of a marketing thing. For writing, there were two things I had to unlearn really, really early in my career. And I've been a full-time writer since 2011. So I also work in book marketing too. But since 2011, I've been self-employed, making a very good chunk of my living through writing books and the other chunk through marketing books, and just all in with books as my livelihood. I wrote my first book back in 2009, and I was, 25. I'm going to turn 40 this year. I was 25, and I had the opinion that because I had a large vocabulary, especially after taking the GRE for grad school, they give you a list of like 3,500, $5 words to learn for this test. And I learned them all because I love words. And I said, well, I know words like abstemious and ameliorate and obstinate and obdurate, et cetera, et cetera. I know all these words. So obviously I got to put them in my book to show the world how smart I am. And that was the hardest thing to unlearn. I had to unlearn it before I could ever publish a book because it was practically unreadable with what I call GRE-itis. And that was actually my other pen name, Melissa Storm, because I'm a woman of many faces. So I'm also Melissa Storm, and that book is now published as A Colorful Life. And I believe it went through 12 different revisions before it was ready. Now I only do 2 or 3 rounds before I feel good and confident, but there was so much work to do taking those big words out. And like the point of literature, of language, is to communicate, not to prove how smart you are. So that was the first lesson I had to unlearn, the first what not to do, Joe. And the next one was passive voice. It gets really easy, like before you get experienced as a writer, to fall into the pattern of Molly was thinking, Luna was doing, Luna was walking, Luna was feeling. Like if the word was is there, there's a strong possibility of passive voice. Not always, but I see this with a lot of established authors too. Is it's just so easy to fall into that trap of passive voice, and you want your character to be the actor, the doer. You want the character to be feeling and experiencing it fully. When you do passive voice, you put a layer between the reader and the character. And that's something that I learned to fix again with that first book by Control F and searching my manuscript for every instance of the word was or the word had, and eliminating or replacing. So strong verbs for the win. Make sure your character is the main character, is the actor. All right, so I'm gonna read the kobold scene while Becky moderates the comments. Thank you for being here. Becky, can you also, if it doesn't run you too ragged, periodically check my Cozy Fantasy Girl TikTok and the video I posted directing everyone here in case there are any questions. And also maybe check the TikTok comments. I added a comment to let everybody know we'd moved, but my goodness, what a snafu. All right. So we're going to do some kobolds now. This tends to be the favorite scene. And this is longer than the first excerpt I read. And I will attempt to do the voices, but again, I'm not a professional actor, even though I like to sometimes make believe. Who would have thought a fantasy author playing make-believe? I know. Everyone is shocked. Here we go. Here's my best take at the kobold scene. Again, you're going to want the audiobook, When Life Gives You Legends by Sound Booth Theater, because their cast is amazing. And I hope they don't see this video and lose respect for me, because I'm going to do my best job, but it's nothing next to the performance they give. But I'm still going to try my best for you guys. And you're allowed to laugh because it's funny. Oh, weird. A bunch of weird people want to co-host. No, thank you, weird people. Sorry, they're actually weird people. None of you guys are awesome. You're like weird in the best way. This was like scary that somebody wanted to co-host. Kobolds. All right, here we go. Rurik, look out! I shouted, somersaulting out from beneath the table and rolling headfirst into the mindless lizard brigade. They poked at me with their spears, which thankfully weren't very sharp. Still hurt, though. I unfurled myself from the tiny ball I'd formed and yanked at the first thing I could reach, a loincloth. Ah, naked! The red lizard creature screeched and moved to cover his privates with his spear hand. I yanked the wooden shaft and swung, sending him crashing into his fellow law enforcers. Finally, I was fighting someone my size, and it felt good. Real good. Naked? Another kobold echoed. I turned in the direction of the cry and flung the stolen loincloth at it. Blind! Blind! It shrieked and scratched at its head while trying to dislodge the fabric. Oh, sweet divinity, this was nice. With kobolds, you never had to guess if your blow had landed because they always conveniently shouted the play-by-play. I liked that about them. I liked this. Missed it even. In truth, I hadn't had a good brawl in far too long. The red sea of scales split, surging past me in pursuit of Rurik, who was standing with his back pressed to the far wall. He had both hands out before him and was staring at his palms intently while he muttered to himself. Kobolds were easy opponents, but could still do some very real damage. Not like the locust we'd faced in Farmer Duglin's cabbage patch, and not like the rigged battle against Malthurius' undead servant. These little lizard guys didn't often win fights, but when they did, it came down to a numbers game. Mother kobolds laid clutches of nearly 100 eggs at a go several times per year. To keep their population from overwhelming the continent, the powers that be required kobolds to conscript for 5 full years upon reaching adulthood. The ones that survived their service were given full rights and a place of honor in society, but very few ever made it. Whatever, they'd started this. Poof. Rurik's left-hand flame blazed to life and promptly caught on the same damask curtains he'd been admiring earlier. Sorry, he shouted and ripped the heavy fabric from the rod, tossing it to the floor and trapping a few of our cold-blooded opponents beneath it. Blind! Oh, hot! I almost laughed as I watched their tiny figures struggle beneath the blazing tarp, and then I nearly cried as I watched Rurik bend down to help the blessed things escape. Kid, you're killing me! What are you doing? I shouted at him while slicing a couple throats with a thirsty dagger. He did not answer. Kalina zipped past me and pulled the curtains back onto the writhing mass of scales. Stand here, she told her friend, moving him onto one of the corners. She then grabbed the dagger I'd slipped into her boot and hammered it into another corner. I hurled myself to the center of the action and dug my own dagger into the floorboards at the third corner. Then Kalina and I worked together to topple one of the tables and move it into place. Can I move now? Rurik stuttered as the flames began to lap at his pants. Yes, get out of there, you buffoon! I didn't know whether those words had torn from Kalina's mouth, mine, or both. Yeah, probably both. Another wave of kobold enforcers marched into the club while the first set screamed a litany of adjectives from beneath the burning fabric. My heart pounded with excitement as the battle raged on. I waited behind the inferno, certain that at least a few of the new arrivals would charge straight into the flames and remove themselves from the fray without any effort on my part. Kobolds were almost too stupid to live sometimes, especially when swarming. I smirked as the first wandered into the fire and shouted a string of superlatives. Hot! Hurt! Dying! Over his bobbing head, something higher up caught my eye. Too high to be a kobold. Also, too solitary. It quickly shifted from view, but not quick enough. Jonquil. He was really failing at the whole hospitality thing. In fact, if I didn't know any better, I'd say, yeah, he definitely orchestrated the whole affair. And that reminded me of another important thing I knew about kobold battalions. Take out their commander, the whole thing falls apart. There are too many, Kalina cried as she darted behind Rurik. She was now without a weapon. So was I, but I had a plan. Give me a boost, big guy, I shouted and tugged Rurik toward the Thunderhoof family table. Bend down. I didn't do that right. Let's try again. Bend down. Thankfully, he listened without asking for an explanation, and I climbed up his arm, then leaped to the table's surface. The green bottle of fizzy water was still there, just as I'd hoped. So I grabbed the thing, smashed it on the side of the table, then jumped back onto Rurik's shoulders. Run toward the archway, I shouted in his ear, then readied myself for the jump. Don't stop until I tell you. He charged straight through the second troop of kobolds, knocking several over in the process as he raced toward the door. Stop! I cried, knowing he'd need a few seconds to properly react to my command and hoping I told him fast enough to avoid him smashing into the wall. I had not. He hit it face first and crashed onto the ground with a mighty thud. Oops. I, however, had timed my leap just right, effortlessly vaulting from one oversized mount to another. Call off your goons, I snarled, holding the broken bottle to Jonquil's throat. You've already lost your balls, but I think you might miss your head a little more. Shall we see if I'm right? He kicked his hindquarters back and forcibly expelled air from his nostrils and mouth at the same time. I don't speak horse. Call off your goons in a language I understand, or die with them. He reared back and stamped his front hooves, and I almost shanked him right there. But then the lizard folk began to disperse. Retreat! Retreat! They shouted and laughed, leaving just as quickly as they'd entered. Peace! Peace! Good riddance. I slid off the centaur's back, landing easily on both feet. Then I gave him the stink eye. Even though Jonquil was nearly 3 times my height, he backed away in fright. I'd been trained for combat. He now knew I'd been trained for combat, perhaps even respected me for it. And by the divine, it felt marvelous. If there's any more trouble, my orc friend will make sure the rest of this place matches the curtains. I threatened, grabbing my chin and forehead and then yanking my head to the side with a satisfying crack. She means we'll burn it down, Rurik muttered as he struggled to sit upright. Kalina had remained in the dining room and was now helping the waitress and kitchen staff stamp out the fire before it could spread any farther. When I turned back to Jonquil, I found that he had fled, the coward. A trio of new arrivals entered the foyer, centaurs, all. One of them was Tulip. I recognized the woman with her as our town mayor and assumed the man was her father. He had not been gelded, I noted with wide eyes. Centaurs really were big everywhere. That both fascinated and terrified me in equal measures, but it was also beside the point. I'll stop there. I lost the spot. No, I found it. Okay. My favorite description to really show you my chops as an author and all I've learned is of the male centaur. You just got a little bit of the nameless father centaur. I was just laughing my head off about it, and it's one of those things that might just be funny to me, but here's a description of the centaur family. Like her daughter, the mare was flawlessly beautiful. She also seemed to be As Kalina had put it, a bit of a brat. That's where the similarities ended, though. Tulip's mane and flank were both white blonde, but her mother's were a rich auburn. Even her eyes had a slight reddish tint, which gave her a dangerous and otherworldly sense of authority. The man looked like half a human had been stuck to half a horse. He was much less beautiful to behold, and I'd already cataloged the most interesting thing about him upon his initial entry. So that's my amazing description of what a centaur looks like. I don't know why it amuses me so much, but it does. That was an excerpt from When Life Gives You Legends by Luna Ryder, which is my other pen name. And you can find it on Amazon, Nook, Kobo, Apple Books, Google Play for 99 cents, the ebook for a limited time. I also have a Kickstarter campaign if you search When Life Gives You Legends. We have a playable Dungeons and Dragons campaign that goes with the book. So you get character stat sheets, beautiful art, a map, tons of world building info so that you can play the game. I've also written about 10,000 words of bonus content for alternate scenes to give players more control when they play the game. So when you back the Kickstarter, you get the full 400-page book and then an additional 10,000 words of bonus content, and it might be even more as we unlock stretch goals. Also, you can get the special edition hardcover, which has a beautiful gold foil dust jacket, alternate art underneath. We've got the map in the book. We've got special formatting. It's really a sight to behold. Much more interesting than that boring male centaur. And then the audiobook from Sound Booth Theater and their amazing team with multiple narrators playing the parts far better than I just did. And when we hit our funding goal, we are going to unlock cinematic audio, which includes a Foley artist, music throughout, and an altered script of the book to make it even more like it's a movie. Just without the visual part, but it has everything else. And it's just the coolest freaking thing ever. So I highly encourage you guys to check it out. If anybody has more questions for me, I would love to answer them and to give you a secret boon, a blessing upon you for participating. I love my readers. I love to spoil you guys. And I have a lot of cool random stuff to share. This is my sword. I like to put my book next to it and take pictures. So obviously I have too much free time. But also it's just fun to live in a fantasy world. Sometimes the earth world is boring, so it's nice to live in a land that is filled with centaurs and kobolds and half-orc wizards and so much more. So if you agree with me, check out the book When Life Gives You Legends by Luna Ryder. And since I am under my Molly Fitz profile, shout out to Molly Fitz if you love cats, if you hate cats, if you have any sort of opinion about cats, you will enjoy Molly Fitz's books because Molly Fitz also cozy, also funny, just like Luna Ryder, but it is based in the real world with a little bit of a paranormal bent. And cats can talk, at least they can to our sleuths. And also cats, like, loving and hating them is kind of the same. It's seeing them for who they really are. And cats are buttholes. It's why they're so happy to show off their buttholes to everyone, because that's their personality, that's who they are. Whenever I see a cartoon or a show or read a book where the cat is just the sweet little furball, I'm like, well, has this person ever met a cat? Cats are awesome and really cool. I have 3. One of my cats has no fur. He's a Sphinx. But part of their appeal is that they're narcissistic buttholes. So if you agree with that in a loving way or in a hateful way, either case, you will enjoy my Molly Fitz books. They are just funny mysteries. If you ever wished you could talk to your cat, it's kind of perfect. So I recommend starting with Kitty Confidential or Merlin. Merlin is my real life cat and the villain of my story, but he's not the villain in his fictional biography, Merlin, the Merlin's Magical Mysteries. He's very much the hero, and he is the witch who takes on a human familiar and bosses her around for 3 books. So if that sounds cool to you, start with Merlin. Otherwise, go meet Octocat and Kitty Confidential. That's an 18-book series. I just had to write something different at a certain point, but I promise it ends really, really well. Nobody could argue with me about ending it, even though they didn't want me to. It's kind of the perfect ending for all the characters. Luna Rider, When Life Gives You Legends, has a lot more to come. This is the first book. If you're a fan of my Molly Fitz books, I think you'll also really enjoy When Life Gives You Legends. There are some mystery elements, but it's much more of an adventure. But it is lighthearted and humorous and can be shared with the whole family. Honestly, the kobold scene I just read is definitely the most like pushing into PG versus rated G. Because she threatens to, cut off a centaur's head and stuff. Like, there is battle, but it's mostly very lighthearted. You only have to read my bad centaur descriptions in that one scene. Otherwise, I describe centaurs wonderfully because they're my favorites. I love centaurs. So if there's nothing else, Becky, is there anything else? I see a lot of people coming and going. Do we have any other questions, or should I leave you guys all there and post a replay for you later? Becky, tell me what to do. No other questions. Thanks for coming, guys. I hope you check out one or both books, and I look forward to seeing you in my next live. Who knows who I'll be that time? Bye. Bye once I figure out how to stop.